Hi, science teachers. Before I get started here, I just wanted to say thank you so much for implementing this module. I appreciate your curiosity to try something new, and I just want you to know that your effort is greatly acknowledged and greatly appreciated throughout this process. In this first video, I'm just going to be giving you an introduction to the project and a little bit of extra additional background information that you won't find in the module materials. So a little overview of the project. First of all, I'm Sophie and my advisor is Mina Belgopal over at CSU. This project is in collaboration with the Poudre School District and the science curriculum facilitator Laura Grissom over there. So I've created a module about bumblebee and plant phenology trends in response to climate change. And within this module, students will be analyzing these trends with a participatory generated data set, which has been collected by all kinds of community members. And students will generate their own scientific argument about these patterns. And I'm specifically interested in how the intervention of this module impacts student motivation to pursue science engagement opportunities and mitigate climate change in their communities. A little background about pollinator decline. So these are all of the leading causes to pollinator decline, habitat degradation being a big one, and then emphasizing climate change for the purpose of this module. So this figure down here is showing that climate change is contributing to widespread declines of bumblebee populations across continents. So if you look at the key here, the more red you go, the more decline you have in bumblebee populations. Thinking about why pollinators are affected by climate change, there's a few things here. So extreme temperatures are interfering with their physiological capacity to adapt. Drought and flooding is interfering with their life cycle. And phenological shifts are occurring, so leading to things like earlier or later seasons. And so these earlier or later seasons are potentially causing phenological mismatch between pollinators and plants. So like the time that pollinators go to get some pollen or nectar aren't aligning with the time that flowers are open. So for the purpose of this module, the goal is to just get students to the point of understanding that climate change is leading to some kind of misalignment between pollinators and plants. This term phenological mismatch and this deeper level content is added as an extension within the high school module, but for everyone else, don't worry about it. Specifically within bumblebees and plants, their timing likely adapted to align due to their plastic physiological abilities. So this is why it could add a layer of confusion for students because not all pollinators are causing a phenological mismatch, only some, and it could be due to something else. So in this module, they're going to be considering other factors like extreme temperatures, drought and flooding, like you mentioned earlier, and highly emphasizing frost in this lesson and how frost can damage a plant's reproductive abilities, therefore leading to a negative effect on the relationship between bumblebees and flowers. So the data set that students are going to be using is participatory generated. It's at the Rocky Mountain Biological Laboratory out in Gothic, Colorado near Crested Butte. There are 4 flowering plants in it, and then we kept bumblebees at the genus level and then some climate data out there. So this was collected by students, research scientists, volunteers, and nature lovers. So this is explaining the project that students will be working towards. There's some choice with this. I have it written as a poster as like a final assessment, but it could be a paper or at the end of a note catcher document I've created too. There's like an area where they can create a draft version. So that could be the final assignment to whatever you prefer with that. So students will be learning about climate change through phenological shifts within plants and bumblebees, gaining some climate literacy skills. And then also they'll be interpreting graphs that have either been created for them already within the middle school version, or they will have created themselves within the high school version. And those activities will lead to data literacy skills. So listed here are the middle school Colorado academic standards within life science and earth systems. You can pause this and look at them if you would like. And then here are the high school Colorado academic standards as well, if you would like to look at those. So myself and my collaborators thought that this would be like a relevant and engaging case study to help Colorado students meet the state education science standards. And at the same time, it's even better when the data set that they'll be working with and engaging with has been collected by diverse community members. So the goal of the module and this study is to increase climate literacy and increase data literacy when they're looking at those graphs and interpreting them. And then also increasing student motivation to become engaged community members within the fields of environmental science. For the data collection process, this is an important part. The first thing you're going to want to do is distribute these consent and assent forms to students and their parent or guardian if they're under 18. So the forms are back to back, so ideally they will sign the assent form themselves and then hand it off to their parents, and they will sign it and give it back to you. And then that allows me to collect data on them. The data for students will be these pre and post surveys that are linked in the lesson plan. They're also linked in the PowerPoint as a QR code. So if you want, you can upload those to your course page. I will also be collecting assignments. So their poster or paper or whatever assessment you decide on, I'm hoping to collect those. And then lastly, I'm going to try my best to observe all your classes so I can take note on how the module was implemented. If there were like some things that you emphasized or you didn't emphasize, that's important for me to take note. For the consent and assent forms, if I'm there, I'll be able to pick them up from you. But if I'm not able to be there for some reason, we can work something out where you send them to me securely and then shred those documents. I'm also going to be collecting teacher data. So there's a survey on climate change that you can please take before you teach the lesson. And then also there's a survey for you to take after the lesson about the module and details on how you implemented the module. So this is especially important if I'm not able to be in your class, but I want everyone to please fill that out. And then also, this is an opportunity for you to provide feedback on the lesson, things you liked, didn't like, and wished were different. I just wanted to mention a few things about the materials for each of the modules. The first thing being the lesson plan. So at the beginning of the lesson plan, there are links to a OneDrive link that take you to these other materials. And you can use those links, but if you use this in the future, those links might not work because I created those and I might be graduated and gone, hopefully. But they are there for you if you would like to use them for now. The other thing in the lesson plan is there are some areas in purple. Those are all extension materials. And like when I go through the module in the lesson plan. The next thing is the PowerPoint. So two of these documents, the PowerPoint and the data sheets, are Microsoft. And I'm aware that some of you use Google Apps, but I tested it and you can download the PowerPoint and the data as a copy and then import those into Google Apps and it works fine. All right. And then the next thing is the note catcher. This is an optional material for you to use. I just got feedback that this would be helpful for students after my pilot in the spring. So feel free to use that or have students record things in another way. The next thing is the NPN activity document. I have added screenshots to this document and I've tried to make it really simple for students to go through it pretty quick. Yes, and then the poster assignment, again, I've mentioned this, but the final product doesn't have to be a poster. It can be something else, and they can still use that same kind of guidance about what goes in each section. The next thing is the how to create a figure in Excel. So it's written for Microsoft Excel, but throughout I've written hints if you're using Google Sheets. The last thing is the figures key. So I have a figures key on the right side under the middle school materials. And this is just for teachers who don't have access to that data because they probably won't need it. But if you're a high school teacher and you need a key, you can look at the faculty data there because it has graphs already made that are labeled. All right, so the next steps for you all are to go to my website and download all of those materials under the Teacher Resources tab. There are little check boxes next to each of the folders on that tab, and you can just click that and then download it, and it should work. The lesson plan is in there, PowerPoint, and all supporting documents, including the assent and consent forms. That's like the first thing you need to download and print out for your students. Great. And then you can go on to video 2, which should be right next to this one in my website. And it'll take you through more in detail the content and activities that students will be learning about and doing. So thanks so much for watching this video. And I'm going to say it again, but thank you so much for your help. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions at all.